الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Dhariyat in chapter 51 in verse 49 بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن كل شيء خلقنا زوجين لعلكم تذكرون. And of all things we created two mates, perhaps you will remember. Mating, female, male and female, positive and negative. This is Allah's established way in creation. He created everything, animals, plants, humans, even down to the atom. The atom, you got positive, negative charges. They don't compete, they complete each other. So mating is the need for one side to combine with another to become whole. And that's how Allah created us. We're not independent. We are dependent on the other side to make us whole. And it's not a competition. It's a complementary relation. In humans, male and female are created with different attributes. Not to compete, but to complete each other. If everything was like one side or the other, life will not continue. There has to be, there's a wisdom in Allah's creation. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala legislated the union of the male and the female, men and women, through the bond of marriage. That is the only sanctioned way of combining the two sexes to allow, the human race to continue and to continue safely. All other channels outside marriage is a slippery slope to disaster. All you have to do is go ask people that went down those slopes. Nothing good ever comes out of it. Marriage and marriage according to Quran and Sunnah are the best and the only way for this union to be blessed and to be fruitful. Now, as young people come of age, they have a duty to seek marriage. And their parents have a duty to facilitate that marriage, that union. Now, unfortunately, a lot of times social customs and needless obstacles are put in the face of young people who want to get married or want to form a family. The level of income, employment status, you're from this caste, you're from this. These are all needless obstacles that are put in front of the young people. Let's look at how the Quran and Sunnah talk about, marriage and this process. What do they focus on? From the groom's perspective, what should the criteria? What do you look for as a male, young male, or the family of a young male who wants, to have him get married? In Sahih al-Bukhari, narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, تنكح المرأة لأربع لمالها ولحسبها وجمالها ولدينها فاظفر بذات الدين تربت يداك. A woman is married for four qualities. Males seek females in marriage for four qualities. Their wealth, the family name, lineage, status, her beauty, and her religion. Those are the four things that, when a male wants a female, he looks at those four. And the advice of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, focus on marry the religious woman, otherwise you're going to lose. You're going to be in a loss. You focus on the beauty, you ignore the religion, you're going to lose. And all you have to do is look, the examples are abound. Wealth dissipates. Money comes and goes. Family dies off or disbands. Beauty fades. Look at the woman in 20 and look at her in 60. Beauty fades. What remains and grows and gets stronger and stronger is faith, is religion. That one gets stronger and stronger. Focus on that quality when you're looking for a mate, or when you're looking for somebody, for a spouse for your young man. In Surah Al-Qasas, chapter 28, in the beginning of verse 25, this is the story of when Sayyidina Musa ran away from Fir'aun after he killed one of the Copts by mistake. He ran away from Egypt and went to Midian. And we know the story in the Quran that he went to Midian and he was, sitting in a place where people were, had their sheep and they were drinking, giving their sheep water, but two women were off to the side. And, they kept pushing their sheep away. So this is related to that story. So, when he asked them, what's going on, and they explained, so he gave, water to their sheep. So later that day, this is where the verse comes in play. فَجَاءَتْهُ إِحْدَاهُمَا تَمْشِي عَلَى اسْتِحْيَاءٍ قَالَتْ إِنَّ أَبِي يَدْعُوكَ لِيَجْزِيَكَ أَجْرَ مَا سَقَيْتَ لَنَا. One of the two women came to him walking with shyness. What is the description that Allah used here to describe her? She was walking with shyness. She was modest. That's one of the beautiful things about the female, not the beauty, the inner beauty that comes out from this shyness, this modesty. And these qualities are only honed from a strong religious background. You don't become shy and modest and mannered by not being religious. So religion and faith should be primary condition when you're selecting a spouse or selecting a mate for your child. And if you don't, well, guess who's raising the children? What type of, Allah describes it as if you're a farmer and you're trying to plant, and you are planting a seed. Do you look for the best fertile ground, or do you throw it anywhere? What do you think is going to go when you have a place that is, a desert fed by sewer water? What are you going to get? You're going to get a beautiful, nice plant? No, you're not. So she's the one who's going to raise your children or your grandchildren, so choose wisely. You make that mistake, you have the rest of your lifetime to bite your nails and to regret not focusing on the one who has the faith as the primary attracting feature. So from the bride's side, or the parents of the bride, what should the criteria be? No woman is going to look at a man and wants the tall, long blonde hair and some of the beauty features that are feminine. Females don't focus on that. The same story in Surah Al-Qasas, when Sayyidina Musa was invited by their father, and some narrators say he was Prophet Shu'aib. He invited him for dinner to thank him. And during that dinner, one of them in verse 26, قالت إحداهما يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. One of the women said, "Oh my father, hire him. Indeed, the best one you can hire is the strong and trustworthy." Those are the qualities in a man after faith, is to be strong, can provide for the family, and trustworthy. And those also come from a strong faith background. If you don't have a strong faith background, you're not going to be trustworthy. At any chance, you're going to, there's no guarantee you're going to toe the line 100%. So these are the qualities to look for in the prospective groom. And in verse 27, the father saying, قال إني أريد أن أنكحك إحدى ابنتي هاتين على أن تأجرني 8 حجج فإن أتممت 10 فمن عندك وما أريد أن أشق عليك ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصالحين. So he said, the father of the two young girls, he said, "Indeed, I wish to wed you one of the two. my 2 daughters, on the condition that you serve me for 8 years. But if you complete 10, it will be as a favor from you, and I do not wish to put you in difficulty. This is the key phrase. I do not wish to put you in difficulty. So 2 things we can immediately get out of this verse. First of all is it's perfectly fine if you are the father and you have a young woman that you want to wed, to offer, says, I have a young lady of, good quality, and, she is in marrying age, and to offer her to a suitable person. You can do that. You don't have to sit and consider it. And some of the societal norms, they put obstacles. You wait for the man to come and ask. Maybe they never do. That's what we understand from this verse. And the second part, don't put obstacles. Do not put obstacles in front of the 2 right candidates to wed. If all of the other conditions are there, don't put obstacles. Do not put impossible conditions on dowry. It's not a business transaction. This is a part of you that you're trying to wed to somebody suitable to start a family. You're not selling a goat. And don't overburden the prospective groom by requiring him to be a doctor or a lawyer, or have a house in this neighborhood, or this size of square footage, or this type of car. Those are meaningless. In Allah's Quran and in the Sunnah, the primary feature is faith. There is no mention of he has to have money. He has to be able to support the family, but he doesn't have to be a millionaire. And a modest wedding will do. Throwing a wedding for $10 million when there are hundreds of people that can't afford to get married because they don't have the money, you'd have more blessings having a nice, simple wedding and donating that money for anybody in the community who wants to get married and they can't afford it. Don't start the married life on the wrong foot. And in Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, in the part of verse 26, Allah says, وَالطَّيِّبَاتُ لِلطَّيِّبِينَ وَالطَّيِّبُونَ لِلطَّيِّبَاتِ. And good women are for good men, and good men are for good women. This is not a statement of fact. There are a lot of good women married to nasty women, and there are a lot of good women married to nasty men. This is not a statement of fact, but is an order from Allah. Match the good man to the good woman, and the good woman to the good man. That's what the order from Allah is. There is no mention about social status, about income, about title. These are all obstacles we as parents put in front of our children to disastrous outcomes. So as a parent, before you focus on the status, is he a doctor, is he a lawyer, what kind of an income he has, fancy clothes, cars, before you focus on any of this stuff, how is his faith? Does he pray? Does he pray every prayer? How are his manners? How does he treat his mother and his sister? That tells you all you need to know about this person. Stupid parents, if I may use that term, they focus on his bank account. They don't care if he, they don't care if he prays or if he's a good Muslim or, what do you think is going to happen? Disaster is what's going to happen. So how could you hand over your daughter? She's a part of you. You hand her over to somebody who doesn't pray? A'udhu billah. What do you think is going to happen to her and to her children and, provided they stay married? You're asking for a disaster when you don't focus on the right thing. And the right thing is faith, is deen. The rest of it, that comes later. And young people, don't look at your prospective spouse like you look at your parents. We as parents, it took us 30 years to get to where we are now. We didn't start like that. We started in a simple, one bedroom apartment, and then you grow from there. Don't have unrealistic expectations. But find the person who has good faith, who will fear Allah in you, and you will fear Allah in them. That's the wedding, that's the mating that Allah wants believers to have, that union, that blessed union that produces great children who will propagate this faith. So don't put obstacles. Of course, there has to be compatibility. That social compatibility has to be there. We know the story of, one of the Prophet's wives that was married to Zayd. He was a slave, he used to be a slave, and she was from the top of her, she was from the elite of her people. That marriage did not last because there's such big difference between the two. Yes, they were both good people, but you cannot ignore the social status. But if there is compatibility, then the next thing is faith. You have to have, there has to be, do you pray? No, get out. As a father of the bride, that is your first reaction. You don't pray, get out. You're not suitable for my daughter. And if you don't do that, if you're enamored with the glitters that are worthless, you'll pay the price. So, obstacles lead to devastating societal problems. If we make marriage unattainable, if you put conditions that are impossible to meet, we're asking for trouble as parents. We're asking for trouble. Facilitate marriage between righteous youth, and do not put obstacles. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will bless the union. Because if you look around you, the temptations are abound. The devil is active. The temptations to go bad are so strong. And young people have these urges, and you're telling them, wait another 10 years before you can afford to get married. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think, as a parent, what do you think is going to happen? That is not realistic. We have to make sure, we have to help them. We have to help our children, the righteous boy with the righteous young lady, get them together, get them to start a righteous family. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will take care of all the other parts. Focus on that first, and then Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will take care of the rest. أقول قولي وأستغفر الله لكم فاستغفروه إنه الغفور الرحيم.